Hello, my friends. It is good to be with you again. I think this is the sixth or seventh, seventh video in this series since this shelter-in-place order has been given to us. And every night I finish a video and I think, what's the best way I can serve my friends, my clients, associates, my peers, sharing some of my experiences, some of the things I've learned. My hope is to empower you, strengthen you, inspire you, encourage you to lead the best possible life given the circumstances. And so as I was thinking about that, we just wrapped up the series yesterday on perspectives. I gave 11 different perspectives, principles on perspective. I thought what I'd begin to do the next few sessions is talk about intentionality. And this is a big deal for myself and my clients, and I want to share it with you. And this comes up in a lot of my workshops and a lot of my talks and a lot of my coaching about how to lead an intentional lifestyle. What I have found is that most people are participants in their own life. They're not directors. They're not maestros. They're not architects of their own life. They're simply participating. Life happens to them. And I know that's not the best way to live life. And so I'd like to spend some time talking about intentional living. And so over the next 3 sessions, I'm going to give you 9 waypoints of intentionality. And I'm using the term waypoints. I want you to think about a GPS. I shared with you that I do a lot of backpacking and hiking and climbing, and I very often take a GPS with me because I'll go for days, a month at a time, and I need to know what my next step is. I may not have the end in mind, but I need to know the next step. So I'm going to give you 9 waypoints. These are check-in stations on your way to a life of greater focus, intentionality, significance. So 9 waypoints on intentionality. Here's what John Cotter said. Most people don't lead their own lives, they accept their lives. Again, life happens to them. So we're going to be intentional about moving forward through this adversity, through this crisis. I can't think of a better time to get really focused on the kind of life you want to have on the other side of this. So grab a pen and paper, jot down some notes. Today we're going to be talking about 3 different intentionality waypoints. Number 1, be intentionally courageous. Now, I've shared this story before. I'm going to share it again at the risk of sounding redundant, but I share this story with myself a lot. So I'm going to share it with you again. It's a story I've shared before about the Marine fighter pilot. She was, the time I talked to her, a major, and the first fighter combat pilot in the Marines. Fought in Desert Storm, flew in Desert Storm. And as I've shared before, I was talking to her about what that's like to go into combat as an aviator. And I asked the silly question, are you ever afraid? And she said, H, of course I'm afraid. And again, I asked the next follow-up question, well, what did you do about that fear? I was hoping for some sort of deep, introspective, powerful answer to help me deal with my fears. And she said, well, I wet my pants. And I laughed, and I could tell she was serious. And so I said, well, what did you do next? She said, well, I flew into combat with wet pants. And I tell that story to myself a lot. What is it like to fly into combat with wet pants? Meaning, you just do the thing you're afraid of, you just do it anyway. Because you know out there is a better future, and for her, serving her country. For us, growing a business, starting a new program, launching a book, trying to get a sale, going and asking for a raise. The courage to try something new and uncomfortable. Be intentionally courageous. Here's what Farshad Aसल says. He's the author of The No Excuses Mindset, a life of purpose, passion, and clarity. Here's what he says. Good habits and intentional daily effort turn excuses into solutions. They'll help you become the person and entrepreneur you want to be. Now, there are 2 fears that stand in our way. So we're going to get intentionally courageous. It's going to come face to face with these 2 fears, the fear of failure and the fear of rejection. We all have both of these. I promise you, I have both of these. Fear of failure, fear of rejection. Let's talk about the fear of failure. I can't count how many times I have looked into the abyss of failure and stepped back and not done a thing. In fact, I wonder if all of us together were to talk about the books that haven't been written, the songs that haven't been sung, the businesses that haven't been started, the great ideas that never came to fruition simply because we are afraid to try. I bet we would shudder in embarrassment at what we didn't do simply because we're afraid. When I have had the guts to fly into combat with wet pants, every time I look back and say, I am so glad I did that. Even if I failed at it, I learned something. Fear of failure, fear of rejection. This one's an interesting one. Fear of rejection. We often care more about what people think than what lies on the other side of our fears. I'll say it again. We often care more about what people think than what lies on the other side of our fears. We're afraid to propose big sales presentations. We're afraid to ask for raises or to try something big because someone might say, no, I don't want it. I want to remind you this. 99% of the time, they're not rejecting you, they're rejecting your idea. That's okay. Rejection is a part of growth. Take each of those rejections and simply learn how to do it better. I've learned to say, so what to rejection? Now, early on in my career, rejection I took personally every time. Nowadays, it's like, okay, I'll just get better. So what? So what if I get rejected? So what if I stumble and fall? At least I had the guts to try and learn. Listen, my story. I've come from a socially awkward introvert to being an author, a speaker, an entrepreneur. I've started and led large companies. I've coached and consulted many others. I've tried things around the world. I stood on a stage in Kampala, Uganda, and spoke to 65,000 people. And every one of those steps of growth and trying, I was scared to death. But I flew into combat with wet pants. And every single time I got more confident, more confident, and more confident. You will find the same. Your best life is on the other side of your fears. Have the guts to step into that, and you'll find yourself getting muscles of courage. So be intentionally brave. What opportunities lie in front of you that scare you just a little bit? What opportunities right now lie in front of you that scare you a little bit? I want you to say it out loud. I'm afraid of, if I try this, I'm afraid of embarrassment. If I try this, I'm afraid it's not going to work. If I try this, I'm afraid someone's going to laugh. If I try this, I'm afraid it's going to fail. Say it out loud and then say, you know what? I'm going to try it anyway. All right, number 2, be intentionally present. So be intentionally courageous, be intentionally present. How many of you are like me, like I used to be, and you suffer from the what's next disease? Always looking to what's next. What's after this thing? As soon as I'm done with this video, what's next? As soon as I'm done with this appointment, what's next? This sales call, what's next? I was afflicted with that disease for many years. And I sat down with one of my coaches, and she asked me, H, what are you trying to prove? Because I knew it was out of ambition. It was out of the self-dark motivation of always wanting more. So we had to talk about what I'm trying to prove. And finally she said, you know, the only thing you need to be great at is the next 10 minutes. Just be great at the next 10 minutes. So with you, all I care about right now is being present with you and in this moment. I've worked on this. I've spent hours on this, and I want to deliver it to you the best I can. And I want you to be present with me in this moment. I was talking with a client about this video series, and he was giving me good feedback, and he said they might be a tad bit long. And I said, oh, interesting. Because my longest one is like 20 minutes. And I said, if I went to a seminar, I would expect a speaker to talk for 45 minutes, an hour. He said, so would I, but at home, we tend to have a shorter attention span. And I thought about that sometimes we're not just present for what's our very best. So I'm going to ask you right now, be present, be right here and nowhere else. Be right here and nowhere else. So when my coach told me, H, the only thing you need to be exceptional at is the next 10 minutes, I've tried to really live by that. So these next 10 minutes, I want to give you my very, very best, and I want you to be present with me. Here's how Mother Teresa said it. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow has not yet come. We have only today. Here's my favorite part. Let's begin. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow has not yet come. Today is all we have. Let's begin with this moment. I love that. Okay. Moments are valuable. They're like sacred diamonds for those who will slow down and pick them up. C.S. Lewis, the great thinker and apologetic and writer, said this about maximizing the moment. Gratitude looks to the past. Love looks to the present. Fear, avarice, lust, and ambition look ahead. That was certainly me. Are you willing to just be in this moment? Now, here's how I've learned to practice this. I believe that great listening is the way to be truly present. So every time I go into a coaching conversation or a coaching call or a consulting session, I tell myself ahead of time, like an athlete going out onto the playing field, or I was a MMA fighter for a little while. When you're headed out into the octagon, you talk yourself up. So every time I go into a session, I remind myself, be present and listen. And I found that is the best way to be in that moment, to actively listen. And write this down. Don't listen to respond, listen to understand. When we listen to understand, we really connect. And when we really connect, we give and receive honor. And that honor is going to multiply your value to the people around you. If you can be truly present with the people around you, your spouse, your kids, your team, if you're trying to make a sale, if you're trying to close a deal, the best gift you can give yourself and them is to be present and connected in that moment. Number 3. So we have be intentionally courageous, be intentionally present through listening, active listening. We're going to close today with be an intentional investor. Yeah. I'm not talking about finances here. I'm not the guy to talk to. I have a financial advisor. She handles all of our finances. I let her do that. She's a pro at that. I don't understand a lot of that world. So I'm not talking about the financial investment side. I hope you have a financial investor. You take really good care of your money. But that's not what I'm talking about today. I'm going to talk about 3 great investments. Let's start with yourself. How are you investing in yourself? When you sit on the tarmac in an airplane and they go through the pre-flight deal, and they tell you the oxygen mask can come down when low pressure hits the cabin. And when you take the mask down, who do you put it on first? And they'll tell you, put one on yourself first and then help those around you. Why is that? Because if you're not taken care of, you can't give others your very best. And I say the same with this. Invest in yourself. What are you reading? What are you learning? How much time are you taking to fill your soul? Are you exercising? Are you getting enough sleep? If you're one of those people who is the noble martyr, giving yourself for others and killing yourself in the process, let me tell you this, you're not doing yourself or those around you any favors. Invest in yourself. Your best self is what we need. Give your best self to your spouse, your kids, your team. Take care of yourself. It is not selfish. The best gift you can give is your best self. So invest in yourself, invest in others. Listen to this by Terry Hudson. Deposit your best in people, not your bank account, to leave a legacy that counts. Are you investing in other people? You can't save the world. There's a lot you can't do. I think about all the stuff going on right now. There's so much we can't do. But think about what you can just do for one person. Invest in one person as though you're investing in the entire world. When you invest in one person, and it could be your energy, could be compassion, could be a listening ear, could be training in a skill set, it could be mentoring a young person, it could be coaching a little league baseball team. There's so many ways to give back. Those who give back, they're like a fresh stream. It's just a moving stream. Those who do not give of themselves are like a stagnant pond. They're not fresh. When you give of yourself, there's life that happens inside of you. So invest in yourself, invest in others. And I'm going to say this, invest in experiences. Take some of your money and invest in experiences. It is now found to be that the happiest people aren't putting all their money away for retirement. They're spending a good portion on experiences with family and friends, because those experiences are your best memories. I told you a week ago or 2 weeks ago that I've done about 200 funerals. And I can tell you at those conversations, they're always talking about experiences. Always. 100% of the time, they're talking about experiences. So I want to challenge you, as you're thinking about how you're going to live during this time and after this time, I'd like you to consider investing heavily in experiences for your marriage, for your family, and for your friends. Those will be treasured gold in the years to come. We'll wrap up with this. If you don't decide the kind of life you want, others will decide it for you. So our first 3 waypoints of intentionality: be intentionally courageous, be intentionally present with listening, active listening, be in the moment, be intentionally invest in yourself, others, and experiences with family and friends. Okay, I'm going to wrap up with this. Listen, friends, every single day is a gift, and most people will leave that gift unwrapped. Or wrapped, they'll leave it wrapped up. They won't explore it fully. You and I will intentionally and slowly open it piece by piece, savoring every day. That's the day we're focusing on. We'll unwrap that gift and savor each day as the gift that it is. Okay. Tomorrow we're going to look at intentionality principles or waypoints 4, 5, and 6. That's it for today. Thank you for your time. Be safe, be healthy, love the people around you. I love you all. Now go shine.